Hello everyone, today we are going to be moving on from 1-point perspective and doing what's called 2-point perspective. This is what you can expect to have in your notes by the end of the day. Please work in your sketchbook and remember to grab a ruler, colored pencils or markers if you want, and to turn your paper so that the wire is out of your way if that's your preference. Now, 2-point perspective is different than 1-point perspective because in 2-point perspective, the boxes aren't necessarily facing you. You can see the corner of it, the closest to you, whereas 1-point perspective assumes that things are facing forward in your direction. So for 2-point perspective, some of the rules are the same and some of them are a little bit different. So first thing that we want to do is we want to draw our horizon line just like before. And again, we can do that in the middle of the page. Honestly, it can go anywhere, but for our diagram, the middle is the best. Now in 2-point perspective, if last time we did 1-point perspective and there was one vanishing point, this time, you guessed it, there are 2 vanishing points on the horizon. And this time they're going to be on opposite ends. So here are our vanishing points. I'm going to label them vanishing point 1 and vanishing point 2. Again, these have to go on the horizon line. That's why we draw the horizon line to start out with. So most things are very similar to what we were doing before. Now, what we want to do is start drawing our boxes. So you saw that all we're going to do is create a couple of cube shapes. In 1-point perspective, we start with a shape. In 2-point perspective, the closest thing to us isn't the full face, but it's the corner. And the corner is represented by a singular line. So on your paper, in like the top left, again, is where we're going to start. I'm just going to make that a little smaller. We're going to draw a single vertical line. That's going to be in between points 1 and 2. A little higher up. And not directly like next to vanishing point 1, just give it a little bit of space so it's not directly above it or anything, but to the side of it. Now that you have that line, we're going to do the same thing where we bring both ends to both of the vanishing points. So bring it over to vanishing point number 1, use a ruler to make that nice and straight. And then to vanishing point number 2. So we have the top and the bottom go to both vanishing points, just like that. So that first line that I drew a little bit thicker, this guy right here, represents the corner of this. So now that we have the corner, we have to mark in the sides. So we created these sections again. So section 1 and section 2 are the left and the right side. So I'm going to mark that one of these is my left side, one of these is my right side, just so I can clarify. And we need to close the sides. So in here, we're just going to add these parallel lines. All of them are going to be vertical, so that makes it really easy. Again, you can use your ruler to make those nice and straight. And now I have my left and my right side. This box is going to be above the horizon line, so you will see the bottom of it. Now, to make the bottom of this, we're going to do a step I like to call crisscrossing. So that's, I'm going to take the left line and bring it all the way to my vanishing point. And I'm going to bring the right to the opposite vanishing point. So it's just like you take your corners and you bring them to the vanishing points. I can't do this one right here because it would go into my shape. Same with this one, would go into the cube that I made, so I don't need that. So now you have a nice like little cube figure. So yeah, just like before, we want to color this in and we want to make our lines a little bit darker. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to start by darkening my lines up, finalizing those. Everything that I do at the beginning is really like a sketch. So there's my outline. And then I'm going to color it just like I did before with those 3 sides. So I like to have a light, a medium, and a dark all the time. So on my left side here, I'll do light. Doesn't really matter if you're copying, it just is to differentiate between them. Do the middle or medium kind of value. And then at the bottom, I'm going to do the dark. Okay, so now just like before, we have a box on the top right in 2-point perspective. Okay, so at the bottom, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did at the top. We already have our horizon line, we have our vanishing points, so let's start by making our corner, and that's just a vertical line somewhere in between. We're going to do this at the bottom towards the right. Again, it's not going to be too close to vanishing point number 2, but give it a little bit of diagonal space there. Now that you have this, you're going to bring the top and bottom to both vanishing points. We have now a left and a right section. So left and right, we're going to mark in the sides, and those are just adding these vertical lines in each of our sections. There, one there, and that acts as the sides of it. Now that this is below the horizon line, we're going to have the top showing. So instead of me seeing the bottom of it, since it's lower than me, I'll see the top of it. And so I take those new lines that I drew and I'll bring them to the opposite vanishing points, doing that crisscross motion. So the left side will go to the right, and the right side will go towards the left vanishing point. And again, I can't do the bottoms because they would go into my shape. I guess that would work if you had like a glass box though. Okay, easy enough. Let's darken that out. And shade. Now, if you're using colored pencils or something, you can definitely just use 3 different colors instead if that would be more fun for you. So again, a light, medium, and dark sides are going to be best for this. So let's start with the light. Medium, and dark. Just like before, we want to do something that's not above or below us, but we want to do something that's to the side or on the actual horizon line. So again, I'll switch colors and we can talk about that. So we can put this more in the center. So to draw a line on the actual horizon line, that's again going to act as the corner, and then we'll bring that to both vanishing points. Really easy. You want a left and a right side, so make sure you're using the same lines as before. Be really careful about that. And now is the crisscross section, but if you were to cross any of these lines, they would go into the shape. So this is all you need to do. I don't see a top or a bottom. Now I can go in and make my lines more finalized and shade. Now with this one, obviously there's only going to be two colors, so like a light and a dark or a light and a medium, whatever you decide to do. And you should now have 3 nice boxes using 2-point perspective. Alright, now it's time to ramp it up just like we did before. So we need some boxes that interact with each other. So let's start at the top, and we're going to make a box over here that is behind but also in line with our first red box. So we're going to be using the same brackets as before. So these ones that created that right side for us, we're going to say this box is to the right of this one. So I'm going to start by making my center line. So there he is. See how colors help us? Now, we're going to take this line to both of the vanishing points, just like we did before. But you notice that it's already got lines that go to vanishing point number 2 all the way on the other side. I can go over them again, so now they're green. But I don't technically have to go over them again. I just know that I'm using that section. On the left side, though, this is going to have to go behind and through the actual box itself. So you're going to skip from here to here with your ruler, or you can go through it. It doesn't really matter. And then this bottom one is also got to go to the vanishing point. So same process, I just made a line, used that section to help me figure out the height of it, where to place it. And then I have that it goes from vanishing point number 1 and number 2. Now my left side is here, my right side is here. This place where they meet in the corner, if I want this to look like it's going behind here, I'm going to draw a line from that corner up. They would meet behind that box, so it doesn't matter. So that's my left side. And then my right side is going to be really easy. So just between this line and this line, we make the right side. Left and right are done. Now, I use this little point because there's a line over here that we're already using. And so by using that point, I'm telling myself that this is already going to vanishing point number 2. So that makes it nice and easy for us. So we can just reuse that line. This right one also needs to go to the vanishing point. So crisscross this, have this go to that vanishing point over there. And that's it. You've created a box that's in line with the other one. So to reiterate, I used these lines here, and I used this corner from before. Ended up using that line too for it. Let's darken those up and then shade it. So this is smaller. It's going further away from us than that first one. So it would get blocked off by it. So your first box is going to block this one off, and you'll be able to see that again when we shade it in. So over here, I have my green in the light tone, the middle tone, and And the darkest value one is going to be at the bottom, just like the red. And those are nicely lined up together. The last one that we want to do is going to be, like before, I want to stack things above or below. So I'm going to stack below our yellow one. Switch colors one last time. So below our yellow box, we want this to line up with it. So we have like the center, the left, and the right lines. Let's start with the center line. So give it a little bit of space. And right over here is where I'm going to create my line. So notice that it's not touching it, but there's just a little bit of room. Okay, so really just treat it like normal. Take both ends to both vanishing points. Take the top and the bottom to vanishing point 2 on the right. On the left, I'm going to take both to vanishing point 1. Really nice, easy left side, right side. Now when you're deciding where to put the left and the right lines, again, we just want to match them up with the ones that are right above it. So this looks like the same sized box. So left side is right under there. Right side is right under there. And we're almost done. So we still need to do our crisscrossing motion. Take them to the opposite vanishing points. So the left vanishing point is going to go to the right side. Notice that it's like under that yellow one. And then the right vanishing point, or I'm sorry, the right corner is going to go to the left vanishing point, just like that. And everything's under that yellow one. Again, the shading will kind of bring out the look that we're going for. So I'll copy the top. I have, oops, let's outline that first. So quick outline. And then shade them in just like you did at the top. So try to copy the same value or the same colors that you had from before. Okay, so I put my medium on the top just so it copies the first one, and then my darkest side right there. There you go. There are 5 boxes now in 2-point perspective, and some of them relate to each other. So the process is pretty easy. We're going to write down the directions for how we do this. And let's start from the beginning. So if you have a completely blank page, step number 1 is we still want to draw our horizon line. Next, after we have our horizon line, we want to draw 2 vanishing points, and those go on the horizon line. Give them a bit of space between them because all of the drawings that you do have to fit in between those 2 vanishing points. Third is where we really differ from 1-point perspective. With 1-point perspective, we draw the face of it, so whatever is facing front towards us. In 2-point perspective, we see the corner of something, so we draw a vertical line between the vanishing points, and that represents the corner. Now, when you have a corner of a box, you'll have a left and a right side. To start making those, we have to connect both ends to both of the vanishing points. So take the top and bottom to the left vanishing point to the right vanishing point. For this, I call it vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2. And then you have to add the sides. So those are going to be vertical lines in each of those sections. So in the left section and the right section, you are creating those sides, left and right. Now finally, we're going to crisscross, and you're going to connect the ends to the vanishing points. Just like before, you want to stop if it hits the shape. So don't let anything go into the cube that you're going to make. If something's above you, then you'll see the bottom, and you do the bottom vanishing points. Or you'll do the bottom corners to the vanishing points. If something's below you, you do the top to the vanishing points. And if something's on the horizon line, like our blue one, then you don't do anything but take it to the sides and create those sides for you. Of course, we clean up and shade, and that'll take us to the end. So now it's time for you to practice. You can stack these things. You can kind of build them like literal building blocks. It's not going to be quite as easy to make interesting shapes like we did last time, but if you work on making everything all together, then you can absolutely make interesting shapes that are stacked